So today we're going to be talking about the SKELLIGE cards that were revealed last Friday for the Chronicles expansion dropping this coming Tuesday, October 4th. This is actually the day that I'm most excited about because I was part of revealing the SKELLIGE cards, and warriors are actually one of my favorite archetypes in the game of all time. Probably top 3, right? Could even be top 1, I don't know, we'll see. But I have the cards here, guys. We'll take a look at them, and I've already seen these ones because, like I said, I was part of the reveal. I did the reveal for Sove, and I'm very proud and honored to be able to do that. And if you haven't seen the reveal video, I'll put it up here for you guys to go check that out after this. But for now, we have the Bronze Brokvar Warrior. So a warrior and a human, and deploy damage an enemy unit by 3. If the target is damaged, repeat the deployability with a different target and decrease the damage by 1. So you could see here how this card's 2 base power. If we're playing it in round 3 off a Herald, for example, it could very well be the extra ping that we're getting, of course, by playing it. This is also tutorable off War of Clans because it's 4 provisions, which I really like. It gives us a little bit more of a variety of what to play than just the on-crate warrior. So we have this here. Now we could do 3 damage, then 2, then 1. So 3, 4, 5, 6 damage potentially, plus its base power here, right? That's actually very good swarm control. It's very good just chipping things down to help with other removals, and I think that this card should see a lot of play based on that, right? Bringing it back with the War of Clans would be awesome. Being able to just play it from hand feels pretty good. Bringing it back with Herald feels pretty good. Fukusha could be even worse because then we get like the maximum turns of rain. So I'm excited to see all the different ways to go about playing this here. I think it's a great card. If the board state is a little bit set up, right, it wouldn't be good as a proactive play, but definitely a reactive one. Red Coin Abuser times 10. So that's that. We have Feral Bond, which is a raid card. I like to see new raid cards in the game, especially ones at 4 provision, because with the Warlords coming over the Black Sun expansion, it's nice to see a little bit more support for that, or a little bit more variety of what to play around that. Right? Because you work so hard at playing the Warlords and then replaying them and getting more raid value, but obviously you want to have more raids you could potentially play. So spawn Skellige Wolves on an enemy row and damage it by 1. Then create a Bronze Skellige Warrior. I'm going to see if I can pull up the wolves here. Alright, we found it. So Skellige Wolves are a beast token, and they have Doomed and Immune and Death Wish. Spawn a base copy of self on the opposite row. So what we're looking to do here is we spawn these on the opposite row with the Feral Bond and damage them by 1. So if we can get randomized damage to kill them, then we get them spawned back onto our side with the Death Wish, which is pretty interesting, right? So there's that. And then Bloodthirst 3, you may spawn and play any Bronze Skellige Warrior instead, which is massive, right? If I can set up Bloodthirst 3 with either something like the Brokvar Warrior, something like Patricidal Fury leader ability, something like the Reckless Flurry leader ability, or just pings from like Brokvar Hunters and Herald and all that type of stuff, then I can go and spawn and play any Bronze Skellige Warrior that we're looking for, which is very interesting. I don't believe that ones with Veteran would tick in this case, but it would be a really easy way to pull out something like a Greatsword, right? You wouldn't have to dedicate 6 provisions to having something like that, and I can see that getting a really good return because we're able to get points plus the Greatsword for the 4 provision, therefore saving a couple of provisions and allowing us to put more in the top end and help polarize the decks. So Feral Bond looks like it's going to be very good. Obviously, the damage by 1 part, I believe, should increase if we do play a Warlord, so it shouldn't be difficult to finish that and get the Death Wish as well. So interesting stuff all around. Looking forward to giving it a try early on in the season. I'm sure I like to play Control nice and early, so we'll definitely see some play with that. And Ulula coming up here next, a human and warrior, and has an order of damage a unit by 2. Whenever an enemy takes damage from your warriors, damage it by 1, ignoring its armor. So this could be a very scary engine if left unchecked. However, it's not overly difficult to remove, granted that it's only 6 base power, and pretty much every faction right now has some sort of control option that can deal with it. Otherwise, it should be seeing the lock. There isn't really a lot within warriors that you'd want to lock because most of it's deploy. Most often you might put a lock on maybe an on-crate raider or something of that sort, but now Alula gives value to locks in other matchups that carry tons of them. So again, you might just see the 6 plus the 2, but if this sticks throughout a long round, if you're playing into something that doesn't really have control, then you're going to get a lot of value from it here. I don't know if I would include Alula into my warriors deck because I think that there are so many great warriors right now, but I definitely think that so far these are looking pretty promising and things that I'd want to include. This just starts to get a little bit expensive. Like I said, so many things from 8 to 12 provision that we just want to have in warriors, like Skjortel, you know, Sov coming up next. I know because I revealed them. Herald, Iced, Vikusha, like a lot of top end cards. So we'll have to see when the patch drops and when we're actually crafting decks. But moving on to the last one of the day, really happy to be able to reveal this card. Sov, Human, Warrior, Immune, Zeal, and Order, right? So we can use it whenever we like, and we can summon it back from graveyard with something like Sigdrifa's Right because it does have the Order Zeal, right? It's not a deploy. So summon a beast from our deck to the opposite row and infuse it with Death Wish. Boost the enemy Sov twice by own base power, then damage it by 1 for each damaged enemy unit. So we could set up Bloodthirst with some stuff like this, whether it be in addition to Patricidal Fury leader ability or Reckless Flurry or whatever the case. And then we can basically go and kill off whatever we summoned. I would recommend something like a Raging Bear just because I feel like it's going to be consistent. It's only 5 provisions, and then we can damage that, hopefully kill that on the same turn, and if not, we could just use something else to chip it down. I think you're really going for the same turn kill because you don't want to give a lot of value to a Purify, and then if we can complete that kill on the 8, then we get 16 boost coming onto the Sov. Now, a lot of people are saying that this is a really big Igni bait. However, the fact that we can go and run through this twice is very intriguing. And if they trade that super tall removal, we still get to bring back these points later on in the game if we have our deck set up for that. And we also get the extra thinning because, you know, regardless of whether they remove this or not, we did get a pretty good thin. So that's pretty much it, right? And I think that's a great card regardless. It's going to see tons of play, and I'm pretty sure that based on what I've seen so far, this should be in one of Skellige's meta decks when we get this all together, right? Because you can use this in pretty much every Skellige archetype, maybe except for like Alchemy and Druids and stuff like that. So really excited for this one, guys. I might just open things up on patch day with a Warriors deck because we all love Warriors, and it's just a long time coming to see them at the top of the game again. And again, cards like Alula, I'll have to see, but I'm really excited about definitely the Sov. Brockvar Warrior could be a good tool, and Feral Bond seems pretty flexible as well. So again, super stoked to try it out. So stick around for the monsters reveal video coming up shortly, and based on what I've heard in the community so far with the balance change previews as well as the new cards being leaked early, I'm expecting to be a lot of really broken supporting changes for Frost and Wild Hunt, so we'll have to go through it closely together, but again, that could be a thing, right? And you'll notice a trend of this patch. It seems like they're really focusing on giving support to those, you know, devotion-based archetypes, so it's really exciting for me because that's the way I like to play. It brings me back to Master Mirror's days. This just feels like a 2.0, so it's all vibes around here. So we'll see you guys soon for that video, and of course we have the patch notes coming out probably within the next 12 to 16 hours, give or take, so we'll definitely have a look at those before the patch drops so we know everything we need to know before going into the new season with the Chronicles expansion. See you guys then.